Alright, we shall play d4 as usual. Play Queen's Gambit as usual. Maybe play some other stuff at some stage. But for now, I'll just play a couple of these. Alright, they're playing an Albin countergambit. The question is, do they know how to play the Albin countergambit? Or are they just playing it because I pushed 2 pawns and they want to push 2 pawns? Depends if they watch like Gotham Chess or not. Idea is after this, they push. And if I go something like e3, they can give me a check and I have to, there's some traps. There are some traps. I'm pretty sure the easiest way to deal with this, from what I remember, even though I play this all the time, is actually just going e3, from what I remember. And if they take, I take. If they take, I take back with the bishop. They give me a check, I just either block with the bishop or the knight. Yeah, so I won't go here. I'll take with the pawn. I'll just keep everything kind of chill. I don't need to blunder anything. I don't need to do anything crazy here. Yeah, simply going to take back, and now I'm attacking this guy. And so even though it was a counter gambit, neither of us have ended up losing a pawn. We're just both playing normal chess. So I'm not gonna, might be tempted to do something like this in castles, and maybe it's good, I'm not sure. Tempted to trade the queens, but I don't think it's necessary here. Have to be careful, because if I went something like knight e2, they probably have queen b4, and no, I guess I have this, which protects this. You know what, I'm actually gonna do this. No, it's probably not right. I might just trade the queens. You know what, like I say, if you don't know what somebody's up to, even if I, very likely do know what they're up to, if you don't know what somebody's up to, better to be safe than sorry. Just develop and don't blunder. And that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to develop. When I recapture here, I am getting another piece out. So I still have the advantage, like the initiative a little bit. So they're attacking. Kind of same thing. I could go like knight c3, which is probably the best move. But I'm almost tempted just to kind of continue, just to show what's going to happen here. If I go bishop d2 and then they take, and I take back, I'll have 3 pieces off their initial squares, and they're only going to have 1. So I'm just, or none if they trade. So let's just see what happens. Howdy, Mo. How you doing, man? Mo's on a pretty good streak as well, actually. Decent, sir. How have you been? So now we can see, even though everything's equal material here, I have 1, 2, 3 pieces out on the board, and they only have 1. And I can make this slightly worse for them if I want to. Like, I can consider pushing this. I can also do absolutely nothing, and if I allow them to take, I would then have this very active knight. Question is it worth it here? Could even consider rook c1. Rook c1, bishop c4, rook c4, and I'm going to have to start moving some pawns. Or, because if they just simply go knight c6, I push, e5, sorry, d5, and they move that knight. It depends, they can probably move it here maybe, I'm not exactly sure, and then I can probably take over here, so I might do that. Even simply castle, because after bishop c4, knight c4, I'll just have this active piece. But I think I'm probably not going to castle yet, because if we end up in this kind of simplified endgame, might want to be able to bring my king in straight away. So let's just take back with the rook. Alright, so they do blunder the pawn immediately, but I'm still going to double check and make sure that there's nothing I'm missing. This knight as well, it has a few squares, so I can take here, and if they go there, I can go here, so probably at least 1 pawn is being dropped now, so I'm simply just going to take. Mo, have I ever, I did do a chat one time with them. I just did a live chat though. That was after, I think, one time when when somebody follow botted me or something, and I had like 400 random followers, and I wanted to work out the easiest way to delete them, even though I ended up working out Seriebot. But before I knew about Seriebot, I messaged them to find out the easiest way to do it. So that was okay. That was fine with them. But no idea otherwise. I assume they're probably quite busy, Mo, so it could take a couple weeks, you never know. Who knows? I'm not sure what the email's about though. Alright, so they go knight c6, it does blunder another pawn. I just gotta work out if this is a blunder by me. I don't think so. This guy is still guarded, so I'm not sure. I think I'll just take the free pawn. Reason being, if I do end up needing to castle and I bring the other rook in, maybe I get rooks on the 7th, and then this will be a little bit hard for them to play. So they're trying to attack my pawn. That's I really like that move. I do really like that move because it looks cooler than it is. But castle long, attack my rook. Always gotta love being able to do that, and it's actually a good move because let's just say I take on f7, they get to take this guy with. And their knight will be guarded by their rook. However, some considerations. Let's say rook f7, knight d4, knight d4, rook d4. I then can take on a7. But then we have to have some considerations for like rook e8. If I go to d1, it's a little bit sketch. Then they actually have knight e4. So that's probably not great for me, honestly. Well, to me it seems like this pawn is lost at the moment. So I think I will start with taking this pawn anyway. And I will just figure it out as we go. I'm not sure. I'm going to be completely honest. I did miss that they had this. All right. Maybe it's okay. It's probably fine, actually. All right, I'm going to take. They're going to take back. Then I'm actually going to attack the rook straight away. That's what we'll do. I don't think I'm getting checkmated here. I don't think this rook alone with this rook is going to do enough. Okay. So I'm going to simply bring this guy over here. Attack this rook. No, that's actually a checkmate if I do that. That's insane. After this, I'd be getting mated. How new is this account? I'm so sus of all the new accounts. All right, that's not a bad idea. That was not bad. I'm gonna be completely real there. I actually missed that too. Okay, if I go this way, jeez, have I blundered here that badly? No, I actually have to go here immediately. I have to go here to prevent myself from being checkmated. Funnily enough. Wait a second. I go here, and they're actually gonna go rook d8. Oh lord, this is actually pretty bad. Here they go rook d8 immediately. This is actually just winning for black. I think I have to go here. No, but here rook d8 anyway. Am I losing a piece? Okay, no, I think I have a way out here. We're going to take this pawn. That's what we're going to do. They give a check. I scooch over. They go rook d8. I can check and collect. We're just going to do this and pray. We're going to see. Gambit, what's up, sir? Yes, this one I've been doing a little bit. If you missed some of the earlier ones and you're interested, to check them out. Oh, geez, actually, once again, I'm not so sure about what I'm doing here. This guy is playing a little too good for 600. Yes, I did actually add the... That's what I thought they were going to do, huh? I do have a YouTube that I set up, which I'll show you the link shortly, sir. Yeah, so this is what I was kind of afraid of, but I'm going to go here, there, going to take... All right, I think I have enough pawns where there'll be some compensation here. But this is honestly a little bit shifty here for me. But yeah, with the YouTube, it's not actually specifically edited super well, but hopefully well enough. Okay, if I go here though, they have to take with the rook. And then they have to go back. This is still going to be winning. I do have these pawns, but this guy played very well. Sorry, I'm sleepy. I'm not even sure if I said half the things I meant to say them, but I will grab the link for you after if you like. Or if you just go on YouTube, bro, and you check Aussie Chess Noob, it should be on there. All right, so thankfully I'm going to just be up a few pawns, but this was really, really dicey. It's not something I couldn't think about. If I was too lazy or if I didn't do this right, I would have been a little bit cooked. And there were some checkmate threats, which I'll just confirm afterwards. Awesome, bro, awesome. And there should be a playlist, which is just the rapid slow run to 2000. Here, I'm definitely going to take with a rook, because if we trade off, I'm obviously winning. And I do obviously want the active rook too. So they do trade. So maybe coincidental that we ended up in that kind of position. This is obviously super duper winning. They actually can't stop me from promoting one of these pawns, so they go for this guy, I go for this one. One of these pawns will make it through. Yes, they can't come back in time, they're just too slow by a tempo or two. So 1, 2, 3, and 1. So yeah, a couple tempo too short. Honestly, super impressed by the position they got though. That's sometimes the downside, I guess, of trading. You have to be quite careful, especially in these heavy end games. But for the knight, for what happened in the game here, for the knight, I had at least a few pawns, even if I was wrong. And pawns are quite dangerous in the end game. A knight, a lot of the times, is not going to cut it. So this would be not a stalemate, they would still have these moves. But always got to double check. Always double check when you're playing a game like this and somebody's not resigning, which is fine, they don't have to resign. Just double check there is no stalemate before you promote. Or promote to something else, because it's very easy to stalemate. And then here we just make sure everything is a check. Make sure every move is a check, and probably be fine. I'm not actually gonna calculate, I'm just gonna give random checks here, knowing that their king is the only piece on the board. So let's just give this check, you know. I'm not looking for the most efficient way, but I'm gonna make sure they are all checks. And this is probably checkmate, but check. Cool. This is a good pattern to remember, that these two queens, if there's a king somewhere in between that, it is a checkmate. Okay, so I just played a Queen's Gambit, and they went for the Albin countergambit. And there are a lot of tricks if you go into it. So most of the time, people are expecting that after you take, they push. This is one of the trappy lines. And yes, this is the move there, but after something like, I think it's this people do, trying to get rid of it, which is a blunder, you go here, and then after this, they, accidentally blunder a bishop. The idea being that if you take their bishop, even though it's not really a blunder by them, but it ends up being a blunder for white, they go here, and you're actually kind of cooked. So you might say, so basically, very simply, if I take this, they take the queen. That should be hopefully kind of easy to calculate here. Take the pawn, they take your queen. So you might be thinking to yourself, well, that's fine. I'm actually just going to go here, and I'm not going to allow them. But then what happens is they take, and you might be saying to yourself, but if they take with the queen, what's the big deal? I just take it. Well, so this is actually not the move that they play, because then, yes, you can take this with check, and then you take the queen. So what do? Well, they actually make a knight. They make a knight over here. And this is forcing you not to be able to take this because you're in check. So you have to move your king, and then they give some other checks, and it ends up being pretty bad. You can see it's -5 already. So they sacrifice the bishop for a lot of shenanigans. And yes, I've had this on the black side before numerous times, and people do fall for this trap, and it's honestly not a bad trap if you want to go for it. But if white plays something like e3 straight away, it kind of stops a lot of the shenanigans. But yes, it'll be a pretty miserable position to fall into this trap in rapid. Anyway, this guy played honestly quite well. So yes, I just took back, and we can see that it's still an equal position. Here they went to trade at queens, or they went to give me a check, and I figured, I didn't think this was the best move. I think in a high rated game, like, not for the sake of explaining, just a trade when you're not sure, that you don't want to fall into a trap. Probably I would have considered 92, I think, right away. And then I was thinking after this, I just go here. And then I have these pieces developed, and it doesn't seem so good for them after I just castle. Though I would have definitely had a better initiative here, but I thought, sake of showing how to just keep things simple, not worry about it, you can see at the end of this, even though it's only slightly better for white, I have 1, 2, 3 pieces, and they have only now 1 piece. And I also did not think that bishop e6 was correct, and I probably as well would consider just taking this. I don't even know why I didn't do that here, actually. I probably should have just done it right away. But I decided, let me kind of show what it looks like if I then proceed not to capture another thing, and I just let them capture. In this case, it is actually better for them because of the fact I could have messed their pawns up a little bit. Here, though, it did get a little dicey, but I managed to take a pawn. I take another pawn. Long castles, it just felt like a nice move, even though apparently the computer doesn't like it. I take another pawn, apparently still correct. I take, and then what was the best move? Maybe I was overly paranoid about this. Yes, wait, why did I decide against this move again? I think I was considering this. Yeah, no, I think I was, oh, I actually, okay. I completely missed the fact that I had just had this. The reason why I didn't go for this line was I originally saw something like this, and then this would actually end up being really bad for me. Not a checkmate, but they would take my rook and I'd be down in exchange. So over here I just decided, alright, I'm just going to take this pawn. If they go for this check, I can scooch over, and then after they go 94, trying to pin this, because I did see this whole line here, I give a check, I take, and I knew that they would most likely take this first, which they didn't. They took my rook first. I do think they could have done this first, and then after I moved, then they just moved the knight. So I think this would have been better for them. Still good for white, but yes, after they take this, we end up in the same kind of thing. Maybe it's just a bit of different order, yeah. I think they probably could have realized maybe that it's very likely this guy's just going to be lost anyway. They probably could have taken some pawns. It would have been much harder for me to win, I think, at this stage if they at least held on to their rook. It's just something, I guess, to keep in mind in any of these positions. I know it looks very simplified, and maybe to newer players it makes sense. Like when I go here and I take over here with the rook, you would think best move just for them to take it. It's actually, it kind of removes any chances for black to draw this game. It's highly unlikely that, 2000 plus, black has any drawing chances here with the pawns and the passed pawns and stuff if they have a rook on the board anyway. However, at the 5, 6, 700 ELO range, I would keep the rook on the board and continue to make threats. So what I would do is I would just say, I don't know, maybe, oh, sorry, not that. Immediately just give the rook away for free. Bring this back, keep it over here or something. Oh, apparently best move. They push, and, you never know who's going to blunder. Like maybe this, and maybe if they, maybe white is not careful and they just go something like this and immediately blunder the pawn, and then maybe they push, and then from that point, I don't know, I just go back and try to blockade, and a couple pawns come off, and then it could be potentially drawn. In this case, though, visually speaking, should be kind of making sense here that with white having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and black having 2 pawns, all white needs to do is push their pawns. And I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this following position. Sorry, I'll just go here. This position here. But this is a theoretical win. Like, let's just say I'm just going to not do anything else here. I'm just actually going to trade off the pawns. So I'm actually going to do this. I'm going to allow them to take, and then I'm going to go like this or something. How do I do this? You know what? I'm just going to set this up real quick. I'm just going to let black take this pawn just for the sake of it. Okay, and I'm going to go this way. This is just obviously an example. Ignore the actual evals or whatever. I'm just going to push, takes, and then just going to do this. Okay, 1 sec. Okay. In this position, a lot of moves here. This is, no matter where my king is on the board, this is a win. Because black can never take this pawn. So hopefully you guys are aware of this kind of endgame, where even if white has 2 pawns, you might be thinking to yourself, oh, black can take one and then they can take the other. But the reason why this just does not work for black is if they ever decide to take this, and so white's plan, by the way, if they want to, is just kind of come in there, try to come around, make sure not to stalemate. But if black ever decides to take one of the pawns, they cannot stop the other pawn. So that's pretty much why it's just completely winning anyway. So yes, all the way back here, I think the best chance in a position like this is not to take the rook after I take the knight. And yes, just to simply retreat and just kind of make threats on the pawns. It is definitely a loss otherwise, but if they bring the rook back, maybe some swindling chances for a draw. And who knows, maybe white's not going to be great at endgames, and maybe white blunders more than some pawns. You just never know. But in a position like this, you never want to give up your only chance. Alright, so not too much else about that game. I guess here I just did make my queen in the end. Yeah, so once I have the queen, so this is also another thing, like, between this pawn and, you know, my e-pawn, one of them is going to make a queen. It's just the king cannot stop both, so I'm happy to give one of the pawns up to make a queen. You know, very easy to win when black has nothing. Just push some pawns, and last thing you have to be careful about is just making sure not to stalemate. Here it's not a stalemate, of course, but you gotta make sure that when you do promote, you know, that the king has some squares. And if we see the queen is on a light square, queen is on a light square, but if there was something over here, like a pawn over here, this would be a draw, I believe, because then this king would not be able to go here, 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 or here. If we look at the queens, the squares it's been taken away from. So if there was ever a pawn here when I promoted, it would be a draw. Because once again, king would not be able to go here if there was a pawn. King would not be able to go here because of this queen. King would not be able to go here, here, because of this queen. And king would not be able to go here because of either of these queens. And here as well because of this queen. And there. So this would be a stalemate. So always got to double check, but you know, I did know there was nothing there. So I can freely promote and just give some checks and eventually checkmate.